75. This week I'm reviewing Lone Survivor, the Peter Berg directed film starring Mark Wahlberg about the failed reconnaissance mission of 4 Navy SEALs in Afghanistan in 2005. It was recently profiled in a 2-part 60 Minutes special, which got me extra excited for the movie. And then I started seeing commercials where Peter Berg was talking about his own movie in the commercials, which is the kiss of death often for movies. Most famously, in my mind, Jim Carrey did it for The Majestic, which is probably the movie that derailed his career more than anything. Look it up if you want to, let's not waste too much time. But in the commercials, instead of just showing clips from the movie, it was as if they needed Jim Carrey to vouch for the movie, as if being in it wasn't enough of a voucher, and the movie ended up being one of the worst reviewed films of that year. So I got very nervous when I saw Peter Berg in the commercials for his own movie. The movie, here's how I'll break it down. The first 30 minutes of the movie is fairly bad, unless you're just a bro or a frat dude or you just like movie cliches. It's a lot of, slow music, because Peter Berg was behind Friday Night Lights, which had a great theme song, and I don't know if the same guy does the music for this, but it's like overdone. Like the movie starts and it's dawn, and these 4 guys that the movie is following, going through their day, but it's really drawn out. I mean, it's like we get it. These guys are doing a wonderful service and are brave people, but it was like already I was just going, you're laying on thick, Peter Berg. And they're just a band of bros. Instead of band of brothers, they're more like a band of bros. And that first half hour of the movie, I just couldn't stop. I was sort of rolling my eyes like this is a very paint-by-numbers kind of a military movie that frat guys would enjoy. Then the 4 guys, played by Ben Foster, Mark Wahlberg, Taylor Kitsch, and Emil Hirsch, go to Afghanistan. They're doing reconnaissance to find some Taliban leader. That's when the movie goes from like bad to almost great. For the hour that those guys are sort of obviously deep behind enemy lines and their mission starts to fail, and if you've seen the 60 Minutes report, it won't be spoiling anything, but it's all fact-based. It's really compelling stuff. Like I looked at this the way I looked at Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket, it took me years to even move beyond the first third of that movie, because the first 45 minutes of Full Metal Jacket is a great movie by itself. And then it like just slows down and gets shittier to me, that movie. Like the opening third of Full Metal Jacket is an A+, and the rest of the movie is just like a, I don't know, B-. I just didn't really give a shit once I finally watched the rest of it. This movie, the opening 30 minutes is like a D+, C-. The middle hour is like an A-. Some of the best, most tense war footage. It's very compelling stuff. The acting is great. You feel like these guys are really under fire. It was very intense, and it got the job done by leaps and bounds. And then once the one soldier is left, it's called Lone Survivor, people, spoiler. They follow the story because now familiar with the truth of the story from 60 Minutes, I know when they start deviating, thanks for the honk, I know when they start deviating from the truth, because the last 25 minutes of the movie became like a Rambo-style thing with like villagers and Mark Wahlberg fighting off like a Taliban regiment, and it was just like, I don't think this happened, and this looks ridiculous. And to me, the last 25 minutes of the movie is also like a D+, even worse. I might have just given it an F. But then during the credits, they show you video of all the slain soldiers from this film, and you start to feel bad, and you start to feel like it made me feel guilty for hating parts of the movie. But the fact is, the first half hour and the last half hour suck. They're not good, and they're overdone, and it's like you almost damage the strength and courage and credibility of both the people and that middle hour of film that was so good by having such a ridiculous opening and closing. And Peter Berg, he's one of those guys who I think probably gets like a little hard when he talks about the military. I don't know if he served in the military because he's been in movies for forever. I remember he was like, I think he was the guy in The Great White Hype. He was like the white guy in The Great White Hype 20 years ago. And then he started directing movies. But in the commercials, he loves talking about them like brothers. He doesn't refer to them as soldiers or military. He's always like warriors and brothers. Like he says brothers more than Hulk Hogan. And I feel like, I don't know if that clouded his filmmaking, like he had to just go overboard with the first part and the last part of the movie. But that middle part of the movie, I would say, almost makes it worth seeing, but I can't overall recommend the movie. I'd give it a C/C plus. Up to you if you want to see it, but that's my review. So if you, that middle third is great stuff, but it's like a sandwich with great meat with moldy bread. That's how I describe Lone Survivor. So that's it. Next week it's Wolf of Wall Street. Week after that, it's my top 10 movies and worst 5 movies of the year. So, okay, do what you will with this, and I will talk to you next week.
Wanna get the feeling, gotta get the feeling going.